Welcome, everyone. If you are a focused learner trying to really figure out how your body works, well, you're exactly where you need to be. In this explainer, we're going to completely change the way you look at foot and leg neuropathy. We're skipping the basic surface level stuff and diving straight into the exact actionable ways you can actually restore your nerve health. Let's get right into it. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll briefly cover the neuropathy trap and the actual science of nerve regrowth. And then we're going to break down three core pillars: blood flow, nerve mobility, and sensory reconnection. Finally, we'll wrap it all up into a simple daily healing habit. Now, I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine standing up and just not feeling the solid floor beneath you. Do your feet feel like bubble wrap? Or maybe it's that absolutely terrifying sensation of walking on broken glass. For some people, it's the total opposite. It feels like walking on thick cotton. When that happens, your brain is basically flying blind, right? It's constantly guessing where the floor actually is. It's an incredibly disorienting, scary feeling that just completely steals your confidence. For the longest time, the standard advice you'd get was, honestly, pretty bleak. The old methodology basically told us to just pop a pill to blunt the alarm bells, get some rest, and, learn to live with this irreversible decline. Talk about feeling helpless. But today, we're focusing on the new methodology, and it is incredibly empowering. We're talking about targeted movement. This is all about neurological re-education that actively regrows nerves. You absolutely do not have to just live with it. Strategic movement can actually manage and reverse these symptoms. All right, let's dive into Section 1, the neuropathy trap. Now, what's really wild about this condition is the paradox it creates in your body. How in the world can a damaged nerve send out signals of agonizing, burning pain, but also complete, deadening numbness at the exact same time? It sounds like a total contradiction, but that is the defining trap of neuropathy. Look at this breakdown on the screen. It's super interesting. About 40% of cases are driven by diabetes, where chronically high blood sugar literally glues your nerve proteins together in a process called glycation. Another 30% come from things like chemotherapy, B12 deficiency, or alcohol. But get this, nearly a third of all cases have a completely unknown origin. No matter the cause, though, the damage behaves in a very similar way. Ultimately, what we're looking at here is a massive communication breakdown. Think of the nerves running from your brain, down your spinal cord, all the way to your toes, like long electrical wires. When you have poor circulation or chemical damage, the protective coating around those wires gets stripped away, and they're literally starving for oxygen. So what happens? The signal short circuits. That short circuit is the burning pain you feel. And when the wire frays completely, the signal drops out entirely. That's the numbness. The nerve is just wildly oscillating between totally overreacting and completely shutting down. Moving right along to Section 2, the science of nerve regrowth. So, here is the crucial point. Researchers at the University of Utah actually proved that this damage is reversible. They took skin biopsies of neuropathy patients before and after a specific exercise program. And listen, they didn't just ask people, hey, do you feel better? No, they looked under a microscope and saw actual physical new nerve endings growing back. This isn't just some myth or wishful thinking, it's hard biological science. In fact, this exact principle is heavily used today in advanced diabetic rehab clinics over in Japan. But how does this actually work? One word: neuroplasticity. This is your nervous system's absolutely incredible ability to rewire itself. When you safely challenge your body with targeted movements, you're literally forcing your brain to pay attention to your legs and feet. If an old neural pathway is damaged, no problem. Your brain just recruits new, healthy pathways to bypass the roadblock. You are, quite literally, rebuilding the road from your brain to your toes. Okay, Section 3. This brings us to Pillar 1, blood flow. Before a nerve can do anything, before it can heal, stretch, or send a single signal, it desperately needs one thing: oxygen. And oxygen only gets there through your bloodstream. That's exactly why we start with the seated march. Think of it as your aerobic base. It's literally a neurological wake-up call. You just sit tall in a chair, deliberately march your knees up and down, and swing your arms. This simple move dilates the blood vessels in your legs, flushes out metabolic waste, and shoots fresh oxygen straight to those starving nerves. And the best part? You can do a minute of this light cardio right in your living room during a commercial break, and boom, you've already kickstarted the healing process. Next up is Section 4, Pillar 2, nerve mobility. Now, a lot of people, even plenty of doctors, tend to think of nerves as just stationary wiring nailed down inside your body. But that's not true. Nerves actually need to physically glide and slide through your surrounding muscles and fascia. We do this through something called nerve gliding or neural flossing. If your nerves just sit idle, they can literally get glued down to inflamed scar tissue. So you sit in a chair, straighten your leg while pulling your toes back towards you, and then bend your knee while pointing your toes away. It's a smooth, alternating sequence that gently untethers your sciatic and tibial nerves. But here is the absolute golden rule. You are only looking for a mild, dull stretch. You should never, ever push into sharp pain. We also have to clear up specific anatomical bottlenecks. The tarsal tunnel is a really common choke point. It's a narrow little passage right near your inner ankle. As we get older, or if we have swelling, this tunnel actually narrows and squeezes the tibial nerve, which starves your whole foot of sensation. To fix this, you just sit down, gently turn your foot inward and downward while curling your toes tight. That creates slack. Then slowly reverse it by pulling the foot outward and upward. This exact sequence frees up that nerve right at that critical choke point. All right, moving into section 5, pillar 3, sensory reconnection. This pillar is all about the amazing architecture of your foot and how your brain relies on a constant stream of sensory data from your soles just to keep you standing upright. This entire system is called proprioception. It's basically your body's subconscious sense of where it is in space. It's what lets you walk to the kitchen in the pitch dark without staring at your feet. But neuropathy destroys this system, and that leads to a totally valid, terrifying fear of falling. So, to fix this, we have to force your nervous system to work harder with whatever sensory input it still has. By occasionally taking away your visual safety nets, like safely closing your eyes while holding onto a sturdy chair, you stimulate those exact pathways. And honestly, rebuilding this system is what ultimately saves people from devastating falls and broken hips. So how do we activate these pathways? With a few kind of strange but incredibly effective exercises. First, foot doming. This rebuilds the tiny muscles that hold up your arch. Then we've got towel scrunches and marble pickups to wake up those deadened nerve endings in your toes. And the sensory walk? This is fascinating. You literally walk barefoot over folded towels or shallow trays of smooth beans. Sounds crazy, right? But tricking your brain with these unpredictable textures stops those sensory pathways from going permanently quiet. Finally, just tracing the alphabet with your big toe maximizes circulation straight through that tarsal tunnel we just talked about. And then we have my absolute favorite, the 3-for-1 multi-tool, the heel-toe rock. You stand safely behind a chair, slowly rock your weight back on your heels while lifting your toes slightly, and then smoothly roll forward onto your toes, lifting your heels. This is a total game changer because it hits 3 things at once. It trains your balance, it actively pumps blood back up to your heart by contracting your calves, and it fires up those sensory receptors on the soles of your feet, all at the exact same time. Now, as you're doing these balance exercises, like trying to stand on one leg while hovering your hands over a chair, you are going to wobble. You're going to shake. But listen to me. The wobble is a good thing. It is absolutely not a physical failure. What you're feeling is your nervous system firing rapidly, making dozens of tiny, lightning-fast micro-adjustments just to figure out how to keep you upright. You are literally witnessing your own neuroplasticity happening in real time. How cool is that? Finally, section 6, the daily healing habit. Let's pull this all together. Okay, we've covered a ton of complex physiology today, so let's make this totally practical for you. You don't need a fancy gym membership, you don't need heavy weights. You literally just need a sturdy chair, a little bit of floor space, and 15 minutes a day. Here's how it all builds into a simple matrix. Start with a 5 to 10 minute warm-up doing the seated march to flood your legs with fresh oxygen. Then transition into 3 to 4 minutes of balance work with your single leg stands and heel-toe rocks. Finish up with 4 to 5 minutes dedicated to your feet and sensory pathways, calf raises, towel scrunches, and that ankle alphabet. It's structured, it's efficient, and it hits every single one of those 3 pillars. But before you jump in, you have to keep these crucial safety rules in mind. First, consistency beats intensity every single time. 15 minutes a day is infinitely better than going hard for an hour once a week. Second, start at half capacity. If an exercise says 10 reps, just do 5. Nerves hate being shocked. They much prefer a gradual challenge. Third, and this is absolutely non-negotiable, especially for diabetics who might lack pain sensation, visually check your bare feet every single day for blisters, redness, or cuts. You got to keep eyes on them. And lastly, always use secure support like a heavy chair or a wall when you're doing your standing balance work. So, we've looked at the science. We know for a fact that nerves can regrow and that your brain's neuroplasticity allows it to find brand new ways to connect with your body. Neuropathy is not a death sentence, it's simply a challenge. And now, you have the exact blueprint to meet that challenge head on. So the only question left for you is, which pathway will you start rebuilding today? Thank you so much for joining me for this Xplainer. I really hope this empowers you to take back your stability, your confidence, and your health.